What's up, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Life's a Garden. Today's positive motivational message is stay competitive. Competition is a very good tool to helping you become a better version of yourself, to help you climb the ladder of whatever journey or whatever goal you're striving to achieve. And the best person that you can be competitive with is yourself. If you can push yourself to be better than you were yesterday, that's the best competition you can have. Now, it's true. We can be competitive with other people for whatever things. And I'm not necessarily talking about, hardcore, legit competing. But here's an example. For myself, at work, I compete in my own head. I compete with the people I'm working with. I'm trying to always do better than them. And it's not to outshine them, it's to force myself to be better. And in turn, by doing so, I get more work done, which makes me more money, which is just better for me all around. It's better for everybody. So to push yourself to be better than the person next to you, and even more so, push yourself to be better than you yesterday. So competition. That's the word this week. That's the message this week. Stay competitive within yourself and stay competitive just in life in general. And it will help to build you brick by brick into a better person. With that being said, let's roll in to today's episode. It's episode 197 of Life's a Garden. What is up? What is up? Welcome back to another episode of Life's a Garden. Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't yet, please like, share, subscribe, follow on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Hit the like button. It helps the algorithm. Comment. It just keeps generating activity. And it just helps grow the garden. And that's what we're trying to do. Little by little, we're growing that garden. And this week, we got a plethora of sports coming up. I mean, where do we even begin? I mean, I know where to begin. Well, shit. This past weekend, we had a ton of stuff. We had March Madness. The women's championship happened yesterday. The men's championship is tonight. Purdue versus UConn? No. Yeah, UConn. UConn versus Purdue. That's going to be a damn good matchup. I was pulling for Alabama with the men's bracket. Iowa, as of recording this, Iowa and South Carolina are currently playing. It's like halftime right now. So I'm hoping to get an update live here on the podcast as to who wins that. I'm pulling for Iowa. I didn't realize this, because Iowa beat UConn for the women's bracket. I didn't realize one of the girls on UConn, her mom lives here in Billings. There's connection to Billings. So if whoever had won that game, that's who I would have been going for in this. And in that case, it's Iowa. So I'm cheering on Iowa. We also had this past weekend. Oh, actually, you know what? Let me just say this too. I've honest to God never watched a women's basketball game. I can be completely honest with you. And I don't think that comes as a tremendous shock to most of you out there. I love sports, and I'm willing to watch anything. I don't watch a lot of soccer. I don't watch a lot of baseball. And I don't think I've ever watched a women's basketball game until now. I've watched more women's basketball this week than my entire life combined. The LSU versus Iowa game, it was great. These girls, I stand corrected. I need to stand here and admit to the world that I've been a harsh judge of women's basketball. Now, I stand by my statements saying that it's not as competitive as men's. It's definitely not. But I gotta put respect on women's basketball for what it's become, for the levels that it's taken to get to where they are now. And that's every sport. Every sport grows and gets more competitive. Competition, that's what I'm saying. You do better, you always want to do better than the people before you. You want to strive to be better than those that paved the way before you. And that's what's happening in women's basketball right now. This draft class of women coming out of college with Angel Reese and freaking what's her name? How am I blanking? Caitlin Clark. There's a lot of really, really dominant girls coming out of college basketball. So, kudos to the women's basketball for I'm not sitting here saying I'm going to be a major fan moving forward, but I am a fan of what they're doing. I might not watch every game, but I might check out more than I would have, so cheers to them. But also this past week, we had WrestleMania. Which, of course, I have not really followed wrestling closely over the past 6 years or so. I still kind of keep updated. I kind of follow it a little bit. I don't really watch it as much. I'll watch highlights and I'll keep up, like I said, I'll keep up on what's going on. WrestleMania in Philadelphia, WrestleMania is 2 nights. Back in the day, WrestleMania used to be like 2 hours, which was crazy because I think normal wrestling television was only like 30 minutes. And now Monday Night Raw is like 3 hours long. And WrestleMania, it was crazy when WrestleMania was 3 hours long. It's like, damn, dude, they're really putting on an event here. Shit, now it's 2 days worth of a show, which makes sense. It's the mecca. It's the main thing in wrestling. So, and you got to get everybody involved. It's hard to get all the titles and all like the main matches and stuff like that you want to get in one night. So it does make sense to have it a 2-night event. It's the most special event of the year for wrestling. The Rock, I know for a fact, as of recording this, The Rock and Roman Reigns beat Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. Now, the other event is tonight or tomorrow as the release of this. So, I don't know the results in that. But if I had to guess and had to hope and pray, I would say Cody Rhodes wins the belt. That's my prediction. As somebody who doesn't even follow, if I'm right about that, as a loose casual at this point, as somebody who barely pays attention, from my experience, knowing how wrestling works, the fact that Roman Reigns beat him last night, they're not going to make him beat him 2 nights in a row. He beat him didn't they fight each other last year at WrestleMania? I'm pretty sure this is a rematch. Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. I think they fought each other last year. Roman Reigns won last year, and then he beat him already in a tag match this year. Are they really? If they really do that, if they really let Roman Reigns beat Cody Rhodes 3 matches in a row at WrestleMania, that will be just a huge slap in the face to all the fans. And it's like I saw a stat. This made me almost kind of sick. And this is me speaking as, again, a casual fan. I've not been following, so I shouldn't really shit on Roman Reigns. But for me, Roman Reigns doesn't feel like the guy. He never has. He never has felt like Stone Cold or The Rock or Hulk Hogan. He doesn't feel like he belongs in that echelon of guys. John Cena. You know what I mean? These are guys that were the face of the company. They were like the guy. He's never felt like that to me. And I saw a stat the other day that showed that he has had, including the 2 main events that he's headlining this year at WrestleMania, he got 2 headlining spots for WrestleMania. Including that, he's had like 9 main events at WrestleMania, which edges out Stone Cold. It edges out The Rock. It edges out Hulk Hogan, I think. No, Hogan might be the one that's like number one, and that would make sense. But it's close. It's crazy. There's only like a few guys that are just above Roman Reigns for most headlining main events. And that just bums me out a little bit as a life, being a fan of wrestling for a long, long time. Again, casual fan now. It just kind of sucks that that's happening. And to see that, and maybe people like it. Maybe that's what people want. I don't know. And if Roman Reigns carries the belt beyond WrestleMania, he's gonna break Hulk Hogan's all-time record for his length of holding the belt. And I think that's wrong as well. It's hard to talk about wrestling when it's like I don't know, when I'm not really up to date on what's fresh. Oh, and another interesting thing. In an interview just this week with The Rock, they asked him about the question that was posed to him was, are you happy with the state of America right now? And he said no. And said that he regrets endorsing Joe Biden the last election cycle, and that he will not be endorsing him this election cycle. That's a big statement for a guy who's like pretty Hollywood. That says a lot about what's happening right now. Especially when the guy running against him is most likely going to be the Trumpster. That's a pretty heavy statement. I'm still on the RFK train. I'm on the Robert Kennedy Jr. train. But, it's still a very, very major statement from a high-end Hollywood guy. At an event that, let's just be honest, caters a lot of Midwestern voters. It's a pretty intense statement. Moving on to real fighting, the big event. I've been waiting for this shit for so long. UFC 300 is this weekend. I was there for UFC 200. I remember watching UFC 100. I didn't see it live, but I remember watching when Brock Lesnar, that's a good transition anyway with wrestling, but Brock Lesnar at UFC 100 beat Frank Mir for the heavyweight title, and then at UFC 200, Brock Lesnar came back and beat Mark Hunt. It was just like a comeback fight for Brock. And I remember watching UFC 200. It was supposed to be the biggest show they've ever had at that time, and a lot of fights fell through. Daniel Cormier was supposed to fight John Jones. Ended up fighting Anderson Silva. That was not a good fight at all. And then the main event was Amanda Nunes versus... who did she fight? I can't... the name's escaping me. I know who it is. I can picture her face. And that was just an okay main event, if you ask me. This one, however, this main event, or not just the main event, the entire card, from front to back, this might be the most unbelievable UFC card I have ever seen in my life. The first fight of the night is Cody Garbrandt versus Davison Figueiredo at bantamweight, both former champions. There are 12 current or former champions fighting at this event. And, you got Arman Sarukian versus Charles Oliveira. That's a title eliminator. Winner of that is going to fight Islam Makhachev for the lightweight title. We got Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway for the BMF title. It's a what do you call it? Like a gimmicky fight, but who cares? The belt aside, forget the belt. This fight alone is an absolute banger. Two of the best fighters. They'll go down as two of the greatest UFC fighters of all time, going head to head. This is one of those fights, rather, that you're going to look back on as a fight fan and say, my God, how did we get so lucky to see that? Then we got Zhang Wei Li versus Zhao Yaonan, I believe is how you pronounce it. I think they're two of the only current Chinese women's fighters going head to head with each other for the women's strawweight title. That is going to be an absolute amazing fight. The fact that it's two Chinese women fighting for the belt is incredible alone. Like, I don't think it's ever happened. I don't think it's ever happened where in fact, of course it hasn't, because I think Zhang Weili is the first ever Chinese champion. First ever champion to hail from China in the UFC. So now that you have two of them going head to head, that's a big move. And kudos to Dana White for making that happen. And granted, the fight, Zhao Yaonan had to obviously fight her way up into this position to be able to do this. It could not have worked any better for the UFC. Do you know how many Chinese fans are going to tune into this? I would not be shocked if this event goes up into like Conor levels of pay-per-view watches. If it goes up into those Conor numbers and Brock Lesnar numbers, if Brock Lesnar was fighting on this, there'd be no question. If Conor was fighting on this, no question. But it would be an absolute historic event if without either of those guys on the bill, if this fight gets into like the top 10 all-time pay-per-views, and it wouldn't shock me. It should. How good this thing is. And I'm not even I've not even talked about Jim Miller's fighting on the card. Yuri Prohaska versus Alexander Rakic is on the card. Great fights. There's so many. There's not a single fight on this card not worth watching. Bo Nickel. Now, I am also on the train that Bo Nickel should not be in the main event. Or he's not in the main event, but in the main card. He should probably be in the prelims, considering who else is in the prelims. Nonetheless, though, I'm not complaining. Now, here's the fight I want to talk about, because this is the fight that everybody's been bitching about. And that's Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill for the light heavyweight title. I understand it's not the flashy fight that everybody wanted. I understand it's not the grandiose fight that everybody was hoping for. Conor McGregor, John Jones, Israel Adesanya, Brock Lesnar, Ronda Rousey. These are all names that were getting thrown around. There was a lot of possibilities. There was a lot of... And you could even say Islam Makhachev would have been a better headliner. You could have said Volkanovski. I mean, I know he just fought. But these are guys... Sean O'Malley. A lot of these guys would have been bigger names on the marquee. And I will be the first to admit, I was one of those people that thought that way. I was like, this isn't the fight. This isn't the one to headline 300. And now, after really thinking about it, after really dissecting the matchup, I think we're all going to look back at this and regret thinking that. First of all, it's for the light heavyweight title. That's the second biggest title you can hold, basically. Because, obviously heavyweight is number one. But we're talking light heavyweights here. These are not guys that just fuck around. These are guys who will throw down and put on a show. In addition, you have such a great storyline to be had here. Jamal Hill defeated Glover Teixeira for the light heavyweight title and then had to relinquish it later on. Glover Teixeira is the man who trained Alex Pereira and who later became and is the current champion. Alex Pereira might be one of the most underrated fighters on the roster right now by the casuals. I think most true fans understand how amazing he really is and how amazing his skill level is, and what he's done to get to where he is right now is nothing short of phenomenal. This is his 8th UFC fight. And out of those 8 fights, this is his 4th title fight. So in 8 UFC fights, he has fought for 4 titles, or 4 title fights. And he is one of only 9 fighters in UFC history to hold a UFC belt in 2 different weight classes. Not simultaneously. He doesn't hold them simultaneously, but he won the middleweight title, and now he's the light heavyweight champion. So you got Jamal Hill coming back to reclaim the belt that he won from Pereira's coach, his mentor. And Pereira is here to avenge that loss. The storyline is actually so perfect to be a headlining act. And that's not even talking about the action we're going to see. Both these guys are stand-up fighters. There's always been a knock on Pereira that he's not a ground fighter. He doesn't have the jiu-jitsu skills. He doesn't have the wrestling. We've seen him progressively get better at that. Jamal Hill is not that fighter either. Granted, I'm sure Jamal Hill has plenty of skill on the ground. He was trained to be a mixed martial artist, but he prefers to stand. Alex Pereira is a world-class kickboxer. If this fight stays on the feet, it has fight of the night written all over it. We could see a quick knockout, or we could see a 5-round banger. And it's very possible that we see that. People will sleep on Jamal Hill too. Jamal Hill is a absolute monster. I predict that this is going to be one of the greatest UFC cards we've ever seen of all time. You're guaranteed to see some highlight action. I bet I would assume you're going to see performance bonuses going left and right. We might see 8 performance bonuses handed out because of how many just awesome fights there are. Yeah, so technically 3 title fights happening. I'll give you. I'm not going to predict the whole card. Well, maybe I will. I'll give you my predictions. I don't have my phone on me, so I got to pull it up on here. Hopefully, it doesn't screw up the feed. No. Okay. UFC. Let me look it up. And by the way, while we're at it, while I'm loading this up, let's not forget, shortly down the pipeline, we have Life's the Garden 200 shortly approaching. And it's not a grand idea for the show, but it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. I think it's going to be perfect. It's going to represent everything that I've wanted for this show, or just like the wholesome positivity aspect of this show will be on full display at Life's a Garden 200. So be tuned for that. That's coming up very soon. We're just a short, 3 weeks away. So we got UFC 300 and we got Life's a Garden 200. What a year. What an exciting time to be alive. Am I right? All right, so I'm just going to go down the list here and give you my full predictions, okay? Actually, I'm going to go up the list. Dude, I just can't believe these fights, man. Davison Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt. This is they're all going to be tough, man. I'm going to take Cody Garbrandt in this. Davison Figueiredo is a great fighter. I'm going to take Cody Garbrandt. I like his comeback. He's been on the comeback. So I'm going to go with Cody. Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. I love Jim Miller to death. Jim Miller's fought on UFC 100, 200, and now 300. I'm taking Jim Miller. Fuck it. I was going to take Bobby Green, and last minute I decided I'm rooting for Jim Miller. That's who I got to pick. Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez. I'm going to go with Jessica Andrade in this one. It's a great women's fight. Jalen Turner versus Renato Moicano. Moicano wants money. I can never root against Renato Moicano. He has won me over as a fan. I'm going Moicano. That's a great fight too. We got Sadiq Youssef versus Diego Lopez. I absolutely love Diego Lopez. One of the brightest stars coming into this sport. I'm taking Diego Lopez. Holly Holm versus Kayla Harrison. Kayla Harrison might be one of the greatest women's fighters of all time, so I'm taking Kayla Harrison in her debut. That's a banger. Calvin Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling. I forgot this fight was on the card until just now. That's fucking phenomenal. Aljamain Sterling making his featherweight debut. Former champion, fighting Calvin Kattar, who is an absolute animal. But I gotta go with the former champ here. I'm taking Aljamain Sterling. He's a motherfucker. And he's moving up in weight where he needs to. He had a hard time making bantamweight. So he'll have no problem making featherweight. And then Yuri Prohaska versus Alexander Rakic. This is a great fight. Both these dudes are phenomenal. I think the winner of this fight will get a title fight against the winner of the main event. And I'm going to go with Yuri. Yuri's too fucking good. Alexander Rakic's coming off of a long layoff from an injury. I got to go with Yuri. Main event, main card. Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage. I'm not even going to spend any time on this. I think Bo Nickel gets it done very fast. Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. This is a great fight. Title eliminator. I will never root against Charles Oliveira ever again. I did it multiple times when he fought Poirier, when he fought Gaethje. The only time I rooted, when I started rooting for him was when he lost to Islam. But Charles Oliveira has fully won me over. Do Bronx for the win in this one. Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway. You know, I'm going with my boy. He lives in Colorado. He's one of the baddest motherfuckers on the planet. It's going to be Justin Gaethje. That has Fight of the Night written all over it as well. Zhang Weili versus Zhao Yaonan. I'm going to go with Weili. She's going to retain the title. I think I like Weili to win this one. Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill. This is honestly a tough one. It really is. Alex Pereira is just a scary motherfucker. This guy is just so dangerous. I'm taking Alex Pereira to retain the title. So those are my predictions for the fights. I think they're going to be phenomenal. We're in for a great show. So cheers to that. You know, I'm excited for that. And that's what we got going on. So UFC 300, you know where I'll be. I'll be down at Hooligan Sports Bar watching me some UFC. I was going to talk about Conor McGregor and the Roadhouse movie. There's not really much to say. Did you see the video, by the way, real quick? Did you see the interview with Conor McGregor just geeking out? Clearly high off his gourd on cocaine. And he was just fucking... the lady was asking him, like, what's it like to be acting? He's like, oh, you know, it's pretty tough, you know. It's like you're used to the fighting, and then it's a different game, you know. But he's like moving around and rubbing his nose and like can't keep his fucking head on. His head's on a swivel the whole time. You'd think he was looking for fucking Khabib creeping up on him. Yeah, that was interesting. But I've not seen the Roadhouse movie. Don't know that I will. All I know is I've seen all the memes and all the gifs of Conor walking around he looks like an NPC character in a video game. Walking around. That's exactly what he looks like. So, that's all I wanted to say about Conor. Hopefully we see a Conor fight this year. It seems very unlikely. We just keep getting postponed, so... Yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. I'm kind of over the Conor train a little bit, to be honest with you. And that's coming from a number one Conor fan. Conor McGregor is the reason I'm a UFC fan. So that hurts me to say that, but I'm kind of over it, dude. Just go be rich and go be crazy and weird and act in movies. Like, if I never saw a Conor McGregor fight again, it wouldn't break my heart. Now, granted, if I saw another Conor McGregor fight, I'd be all for it. I'm not saying I don't want it. I'm just saying if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'm not going to cry about it. There's so many young, hungry dogs coming up in the fight game now. It's like, they don't need Conor. And I think the UFC knows that. Conor deserves all the respect in the world for what he's done for the UFC and what he's built. But let's be honest, they don't need him anymore. They are a juggernaut beyond like control. I guess let's just stick with the sports theme here because we're full on sports radio today. This is just welcome back to LAG Sports Radio. We're here on live with Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor, what do you think of this fight this week? I just it's gonna be some good fights, Hoi, toi, 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 toi. Billings Outlaws coming back. The indoor football Billings Outlaws will be returning to and now in the AFL, which some of these games are going to be broadcast on the NFL Network. Very exciting. The Billings Outlaws have one game that's going to be broadcast. The return of the AFL, the Arena Football League. I remember when the AFL was really big back in the day, and then it's kind of gone through ups and downs. It's gone away, it's come back, much like the Outlaws themselves. How exciting is that? We are literally on like a high-level national league now here in Billings. That's very exciting. And in addition to that, I want to mention that our boy, Andrew Miller, the lead guitar player for Cutthroat, will be performing the national anthem in not one, but 2 games. So I reached out to the Billings Outlaws, and I was like, hey, if you guys would like a halftime performance, I'm throwing our name in as a band to possibly do that. We were trying to perform a halftime show for them because we have a song called Outlaw. I'm like, this is going to be your guys' theme song. So how about it? Let's get this done. And they reached back to me and they said, we already have a plan for the halftime shows. And then she's like, but we are looking for national anthem singers. So if you'd be interested in singing the national anthem, and she was referring to me being the singer, and I was like, I've thought that has crossed my mind several times to do that, or to even be asked to do that, and it's just not, there's so much pressure involved in doing that. I am so forgetful as it is, remembering lyrics. If I forgot the lyrics to our American national anthem, I couldn't show my face in public for the rest of my life. In addition, if I sang it poorly, all the compilations of people who have fucked up national anthems. We've talked about it on here with Fergie and her. No, that wasn't the national anthem. That's when she peed herself. Poor Fergie. But I wasn't going to be on the highlight reel of shitty national anthems. You know what I mean? However, I said to her, our guy Andrew Miller, our guitar player, he's played the national anthem multiple times on stage. And he's phenomenal at it. So we send in a video of it. And she literally messaged me back and said, the coach and the owner love this so much that we want him to do it twice. So he's going to be doing it coming up here on April 18th for the preseason game. And then again, June 8th, which is the day after our show at Pub Station. So we're playing June 7th at the Pub Station. Or sorry, not the Pub Station. Craft Local. We're playing June 7th at Craft Local. Going to be a great show, by the way. And then the very next day, Drew will be playing the national anthem for that Billings Outlaws. Very exciting. I might even try and get him to play at Outlaws games. And somebody suggested the BMP racetrack would be a great one too. So, and it's funny because it makes me feel like I'm like his manager. Like I'm really like, hey, buddy, I got you a gig this weekend doing the national anthem for the sports games. And because I'm the one messaging and getting all the details and stuff like that. It only happened that way because I was trying to get it for the band. And in reality, this is still good for the band. It's great promotion. It gets our name out there on a big stage with a lot of people. I'm hoping we'll be able to walk around and like sell CDs or rep the merch and things like that. So here's hoping that this is just another level of promotion that we get. I was already planning on going to the Outlaws games anyway, so it works out for me in that. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time. Very excited about getting those done. But yeah, I think those other ideas are great too. Mustangs games, the freaking BMP racetracks. Just a little extra stuff just to get our name out there. I'm going to check and see if what the score to that women's game is. Iowa. Damn. Ugh. End of the third quarter. South Carolina is up 68-59. This is a good game. So we're going in the fourth quarter here. It all comes down to this. I'm going to leave that up so I can keep checking it. It'd be nice if I got the live score right here on the podcast as it happened. We'll see though. What else? I'll try and move away from the sports talk. It's a very sports heavy episode, okay? So for all you sports heads, or for all you non-sports heads, I should say, I apologize. I understand that sports aren't exactly everybody's flavor, and this is not a sports podcast. However, it worked out because the message of the week was competition. Competing, leveling yourself up, and that's what sports are all about. I was talking about this with somebody last night, in fact. It was last night. I said these are the things I love the most, right? Is music and sports. They're just the things I enjoy listening to and watching and consuming. And this isn't the reason why, but this is a major reason that I do love those things. Because it doesn't matter your age, your race, your religious backgrounds, your gender, none of it matters. All that goes out the window. As long as you are undeniable. If you are undeniable at what you do, it doesn't matter what your background is, anything. If you're gay, if you're straight, if you're, whatever, none of it matters. So long as you are undeniable at what you do. And that's both in music and sports. If there's a female lead guitar player that just shreds, I'm not going to judge her based on her being a woman. If you shred, you shred. If you have an amazing voice, if you're Freddie Mercury, if you're gay, if you're, whatever, none of it matters. There's no prejudice when it comes to sports. Because or music, because if you're undeniable, you're undeniable. It doesn't matter. You can't take that away. And competition drives that. So it all kind of drives one and one, and that's why I really love sports. I mean, like I said, I never thought I'd be a women's basketball fan. These ladies brought me on board because they are undeniably good, and you cannot shy away from greatness. You can't help but watch greatness. And greatness comes in all forms. And competition is the driving force in that. So, and that's how we feel in the music industry too. In the music scene, it's like I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to up my game and be the best version, the best band we can be. And that fuels the other bands that we play with. It's like if we put on a great show on stage, hell, let's put it this way. If the band before us goes on and just absolutely murders, it gives me the energy and the juice to want to do better. It drives me to want to level my game up and perform at my highest level. I mean, I can use the example of the St. Patrick's Day show we played. Do Fish Make Noise has great stage presence. They have great energy. They get the crowd involved. They do a very good job. That forced me to up my game. I was like, these guys fucking set the bar, and now I'm going to try and at least match it. If I can raise it, great. If I can match it, that's fine. You just brought my competition level up to here. You made me want to be better. That's amazing. If you can do that, if you can incorporate that in your everyday life, the sky's the limit, man. It truly is. The sky is the limit. If you can look at somebody else and say they are doing a great job at that, I need to get on their level or surpass it. Then that's a great motivation. That's a great motivator. You know, it's a great way to help up your game. And I look at that in the music industry. If I hear a band, I'm just like, damn, those guys. And I never look at it as a jealousy thing. I'm never like, damn, those guys are so good. I wish I was that good, or I wish we could do that, or I wish, like, why can't we be better? No, we can. I hear great music, and I enjoy it. I'm a fan, and I'm like, I want to be that good. Like, we got to get on that level. We got to up our game to that level and get. And if everybody thought that way, if all the other bands saw it that way, we would all just be climbing the ladder. We'd be upping time and time again. It's healthy. Competition is healthy. It makes us stronger. It makes us better at what we do. So, sports and music, those are my two favorite things, and that's why we're talking about it today. That's why it's a big topic today. For one, because there's just a lot of sports going on, and because it's just something I love. So today on LAG Talk Radio, Sports Radio, we are talking about UFC 300. We're talking about the Billings Outlaws and all kinds of stuff. And I actually have more stuff to talk about with sports. I just looked at my list, and there was something I absolutely passed up on. But before we get to that, I do want to talk about this, diverting just a little bit away from sports. First of all, New York just recently experienced a 4.3 earthquake, which it produced no damage and no real issues. But I think, I can't remember when they said the last earthquake to hit New York was, but that had to have been absolutely terrifying. Especially when there was an earthquake just not too long before this in Taiwan that sunk a building into the ground. Surprisingly, only killing 10 people. But it was like a magnitude 7 point something. You don't really, like, earthquakes are not as, like, they feel like they're less common nowadays. Is that, maybe they aren't, but you don't hear about them as much, in my opinion. You hear a lot about the hurricanes, tornadoes, volcanoes even. There's been so many volcanic eruptions. We are literally living in the day after tomorrow. Like, it's almost like the apocalypse is nigh. And, speaking of the apocalypse, well, first of all, there was a South Korean scientific studies unit, something or other, that produced a nuclear reactor that heated up to, this is not a mistake about this number I'm about to make, 10, I think it was like 100 million degrees Celsius, something like that. As I said, I'm not going to make this number up, and now I'm just like making up a number. It was either 10 million or 5 million or 100 million degrees Celsius, which is 100 times hotter than, or 10 times hotter than the core of the sun. And they did that on Earth. That's scary. They did that with nuclear power. And it heated up for like 40 seconds or something like that. And that's kind of terrifying. But to know that that's even just like happening on this Earth. Isn't it crazy to think that like scientists will like literally have like they did the atom collider and created a black hole? Like we could just create black holes and just be gone like that. We could just suck the whole Earth into a man-made black hole because we're fucking around with atoms. Do you know how crazy that is? That humans have the capability of that? The fact that we can take an atom and turn it into a devastating bomb. Still haven't seen Oppenheimer. That is crazy, though. It's just crazy the thought that humans can like just do that. We can create heat hotter than the sun here on Earth. But no, the other thing I was going to say as far as the apocalypse. So there was a recent discovery that there is a pyramid buried beneath the ice in Antarctica. Now, pyramids, while everybody kind of assumes that pyramids are only in Egypt, like we have the Great Pyramids, right? This is not true. There are pyramids. Pyramids are not a strictly Egyptian thing. We have the Mayan temples that were very pyramid-like. There's been pyramids discovered all over the world, right? There's one in Las Vegas. It's called the Luxor. But there are, pyramids discovered everywhere. However, the idea that there is one buried beneath the ice in Antarctica. Now, there's all these theories about the pyramids in the first place. The biggest being that they are alien-made, right? That's a common conspiracy theory, that the aliens were involved in creating the pyramids, as a power source, or as a compass, or as some kind of, beacon, right? There's all these different thoughts and theories, and especially as to why certain pyramids are located where they are. There's a lot of very interesting ideas about the direction they face and the way that they are built. It's very complex, especially for the time that they were built. Now I bring up aliens and their potential involvement in making of pyramids, because we hear about this pyramid that's buried beneath the ice in Antarctica. And I'm just thinking to myself, that is literally the plot to the movie Alien vs. Predator. If you've never seen that movie, that's exactly what it is. A pyramid buried beneath the ice that holds xenomorphs inside that the predators come down to hunt every 100 or 1,000 years. It's like every 1,000 years they come to hunt the aliens. So, not only are we living in the movie the day after tomorrow, we are living in the movie Alien vs. Predator. And all this stuff about aliens is coming out. All this UFO stuff, and it's in Congress and all this. Are we about to experience an alien war between the xenomorphs and the predators? Has Hollywood always just known the future? Are they just planting seeds of what's to become? What if aliens really were responsible for the creation of the pyramids? And some of them, while the other ones flew off into outer space, some of them happened to get trapped and buried under ice. And they've been frozen for thousands of years, and we are going to inevitably uncover this pyramid, try and excavate it and explore it, and we awaken the mother xenomorph. That's another thought. That's another thing. Is people often, when thinking about aliens, we always imagine the big-headed gray aliens, scrawny bodies, take me to your leader. Nobody ever thinks about it being a xenomorph. Nobody ever thinks about it being a predator. I mean, we already have plenty of predators in Hollywood, but and our government. But nobody ever thinks about them being violent monsters that are just here to just fuck our shit up. You know? It's always these feeble little big-headed aliens. Did you ever once stop to think that maybe these aliens are going to just absolutely butt-fuck us? It's very possible. And the script is playing out. I watch that movie all the time. I used to watch it all the time. Alien vs. Predator. Terrifying. If this is happening. So, the first thing that came to my mind when I saw a pyramid under the ice in Antarctica was Alien vs. Predator. And I think that's I think things are just starting to come to fruition with that. So, yay! Yay! 80-72 is the score to the game with 4 minutes left. This could be a good one. I'm sad I'm missing it, but I'm keeping updated on it. I didn't realize that they were going to be showing it so early. It started at 1 o'clock. I thought that was weird. Back to sports. I know we took a quick detour to talk about aliens. Back to sports, though. There's a couple more things I want to talk about, and then we'll get the hell out of here on this sports radio show, the 1 hour sports radio show here on LAG, LAG Sports Radio in Billings, Montana. Well, first of all, so Leah Thomas, who is the transgendered woman, I will properly use her pronouns. She is a transgendered woman, which means she's a guy. She was born a guy, was stripped of all of her titles and records and awards that she has received through her time as a swimmer. This is huge for women's sports. Like, literally, this is a women's sports revolution is happening. And the last thing that the women need right now, especially, is dudes coming in and just like stomping all over their shit. And I'm fine with the way you want to live your life. If you want to be transgender, if you want to be gay, if you want to be pansexual or whatever fucking non-binary crazy, whatever you want me to believe. There's a line. Like when you want me to start thinking you're a cat or something like that, or when you're like 60 pounds and you say I identify as a 700-pound person, or when you say crazy shit like I identify as a 80-year-old man when you're 20. When you say crazy shit like that, that's when we're drawing a line. But you're not harming anything, and that's fine. Like I'm good with that. When it comes to competition, physical competition, athletic competition, I don't think it's a controversial statement to say that men are physically and athletically just genetically more gifted than women. We were born to be hunters. We were the protectors. We were born with more muscle and agility. And we back in the day, in the primal era, we were supposed to be the ones that fought and died in wars. And evolutionary wise, it continued that way. So when we come to competition in sports, men are naturally more gifted. Women, evolutionary wise, are increasing. We see this happening. But it realistically will never be on the level of men. When you add men to women's sports, there's been women, like great women athletes who have made this statement. Serena Williams, the greatest women's tennis player of all time, literally said if she played Andy Roddick in tennis, he would destroy her. She understands the nature of this. And so recently in the last few years, we've had these transgendered women coming into women's sports and just dominating. Leah Thomas was like ranked 250th in the world, and then goes to women's sports and immediately becomes number one. Who'd have thought, right? Who'd have thought? Still athletic, of course. An athlete knows how to swim. But you're swimming against women. And by the way, I should mention, barely beat the second place person, who is now the first place person. Well, like, deservedly so. It's unbelievable, the whole thing. And so the right thing has happened. If you want to have a transgendered sports league, go for it. We already have a fucking Special Olympics. Why not have a transgendered Olympics? For real, though. Like, if you want to have your own league, that is fine. Go for it. But here's the thing. Make it yourselves. Don't involve anybody else in this and make everybody else think that they have to, you guys make it yourself and let's see how well it goes. Because I don't think your community is nearly as large as you think it is. And most of the people that are in that community don't really give a fuck about sports. So I'm just saying, if you want to have your own sports league, that's fine. I have no issue with that. But good luck getting the transgendered women, or the transgendered men, I should say, to be able to Why do you think that is? Why do you think transgendered men, women who transgender or transition into men, don't enter sports? Why do you think that is? Why do you think we don't ever talk about that? We only talk about the transgendered men who transitioned into women competing in sports. Because they're the ones who have the competitive edge. That's simple as that. Simple as that. So that was just other news in sports that I wanted to bring up. And to close us out, I just want to talk briefly about my Denver Nuggets and my Colorado Avalanche, both of which are fighting to be number one in their divisions, in their conference, potentially to be running deep in the playoffs. I'll be down in Denver at the end of April, going to a concert. I'll be going to see Primus and Pussifer and A Perfect Circle, the Sasansa tour at Red Rocks. Super excited. And while I'm down there, I am praying that both the Avalanche and the Nuggets will be playing down there. If I can go to both games, done deal. If I can go to one, that's fine with me as well. I'd love to go to a playoff game again this year, go support my boys. Now, one thing I just want to say, they're both doing fantastic. They're both on a hot run. The Nuggets had like a little bit of a dip for a while there, but they're back in action. They're doing well. The Avalanche, they're back healthy. They're getting all their guys back ready to go. This might be the first time in the history of Denver sports that two teams, two players on two different teams in Denver could possibly win the MVP of their league in the same year. It's never happened before. The Rockies have had MVPs. The Avalanche have had, I think Joe Sakic won it. John Elway has won an MVP, as well as Terrell Davis and Peyton Manning. And then Jokic was our only MVP for the Nuggets. None of those have ever occurred at the same time. We've had other, award winners at the same time. I believe Cale Makar won Defensive Player of the Year the same year that Jokic won MVP. So we've had that. But never before in Denver sports have we had two MVPs from two different leagues in the same year. And this might be the year it happens. I'm praying. I think it'd be awesome. I think both men clearly deserve it. I know there's a cat in hockey, Williams, I think is his name, who's been on a tear. So, understandable if he gets it. If Shai Gilgeous-Alexander won MVP in the NBA, I would understand. But in reality, the fact that the Nuggets are top 3 and Jamal Murray has missed as significant amount of time as he has, with a bench unit that is less productive than last year when we won the title, it's got to be Jokic. He clearly is the MVP. All due respect to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, all due respect to Luka Doncic and what both those men have done for their respective teams. But how do you not give it to Jokic? He is the absolute most dominant player in the NBA right now. Nathan McKinnon, I think he's deserved it for a long time. They're a team that's also dealt with a lot of injuries. He's broken some crazy records this year. Do the right thing and give it to Nathan McKinnon. So that's what I wanted to close with, was talking about my boys, talking about the Nugs, talking about the Avs. Hopefully I will get to see one of those games while I'm down in Denver. And I'm going to tell you all about it. I'll tell you about the concert and all that. And that's about the time that episode 200 is going to be coming out. So be on the lookout for that. I'm excited. Definitely going to have some guests. And again, I'm on like a really long streak of just solo episodes. It's just the way it is. It's what's working with my schedule right now. I have many, many guests down the pipeline planned to have on. It will happen. We will eventually get more guests. But until then, thank you so much for listening to this episode. All the sports talk. I know, it is what it is. I like sports. So, that's what you're getting this week. Before I leave, let me get an update on that game. South Carolina is going to officially win. So, congratulations to them. Well deserved. Well earned. 87-75 is what the score is right now with 20 seconds left. South Carolina is going to win the Women's National Championship. So, cheers to them. That's how we're going to end this show. Thank you all so much. Please do me a favor. Like, share, subscribe, follow. Do all the good stuff. Help grow this garden. Keep competition in your mind. Compete with yourself. Compete with others. It will help grow you to a better you. But most importantly, don't forget, life's a garden. Dig it.
just gotta keep on keeping on.
Why don't you talk in the microphone? I got a back right here. Back of my. Back of my. Back of my. Back of my. Life's a garden, dig it.